Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Sports Nation podcast with your host, Alec Pecano, and co-host, Bradley Walker, on Tuesday, April 1st. Yes, it is April Fool's Day, but we have no April Fool's jokes for you, unfortunately. Can't say the same for the White Sox. 6 starting pitchers on the IL. But on today's show, we are going to recap everything from college baseball to the NHL to the MLB. We're going to hop right into it. Bradley is going to recap the weekend series from USF versus Tulane this past weekend. So go ahead, Bradley.
The first time that the Bulls have swept Tulane in a long since 1993. It's been a long time since USF has swept Tulane.
I wasn't even born yet the last time they swept Tulane.
I was 10 years old when they swept them. Corey Braun pitched in game 1 and went the distance. A 2-hit complete shutout.
I follow their Instagram, and I saw highlights of that.
Yeah, so they won the first game, guys, 3-0, with the RBIs coming from Betancourt, Lowry, and Triple, and both Braun and Brodell were named AAC Conference honors this past week. This is the best start for USF baseball in a long time. They're 16-9 currently. They have a game today. I'm here, guys, because if not, I would be at the game against Bethune-Cookman, which should be going off if it's not already first pitch. I'd have to look at the schedule, but they have a game 6 o'clock. Yeah, so within the next half hour, they will be throwing out the first pitch. But yes, this is a good start under new coach Mitch Hannons, who came over. The team, I believe they're currently on a 5-game winning streak, so they're playing good baseball at the moment. Hopefully it continues, because last year the AAC championship, which is at Spectrum Stadium, where yours truly will be tomorrow, because I'm going to cover Clearwater Threshers baseball this season. So I'll be down there tomorrow to meet up with the guy. But the Bulls are off to a good midway start. I write an article, guys. Go to ngscsports.com. Check out all of my weekly analysis on baseball.
Oh, by the way, we are part of the NGSC Sports Network. As my co-host just mentioned, that is where, if you can't find the podcast on YouTube for some reason, go over to NGSC Sports. He will have it up after we sign off.
Correct.
But I'm going to jump into recapping UNF's 3-game set at home against Fgcu and give you their upcoming schedule. They played a 3-game set Friday and Saturday against Florida Gulf Coast. Yes, I understand a normal 3-game set in college baseball is usually Friday through Sunday. But the Atlantic Side Conference, sometimes they do it a little bit outside the box. So UNF took 2 out of 3. They won on Friday. They won Friday 5-2. They won the first game Saturday in 7 innings, 10-0. Then they lost the second game 3-0. So they took 2 out of 3. And they also have a new head coach because their head coach had to step away because he was dealing with some health issues. And they're off to a good start too. They're 16-10. And they've got a big game against the Gators tomorrow night. And then they play. Yes, in Gainesville. We played them in Jacksonville earlier this year.
Okay.
I'm not getting my hopes up that they're going to beat Florida, unfortunately. And then they come home and they have a weekend set against one of the ASUN newcomers this year in West Georgia. I'm feeling more confident about them taking maybe 2 out of 3 in that series or even getting a sweep. They're near the top of the conference in baseball. And let me give a shout out to the athletic program I work for as a student manager at North Florida. I know we don't really talk about softball that much, but I want to give a shout out to the University of North Florida softball team and head coach Jeff Conrad. I hear y'all are having a really good season. Wish I was still in Jacksonville to come and support the team. But we are now going to head on over to the NHL, and I will let Bradley go first with his recap of the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Well, I'm switching hats here as I go here, but I personally was at the Utah game and the Islander game Thursday and Saturday. But last week, I believe the night that we had our show, the Lightning won 6-1. Or did we not have a show last week? I don't remember now. Anyway, we won 6-1.
We didn't have one on Thursday.
Okay, yeah. So we won 6-1 on Tuesday night, the night of our show last week. It wasn't, again, Vasilevsky was in the net. Cirelli had 2 goals in his 500th game as an NHL player. Kucherov eclipsed 100 points again. It's been a common theme with him.
As most of y'all know, I am a Lightning fan, diehard Lightning fan, but I'm also a Blue Jackets fan. And I want to say this. It is utterly disgusting that Kucherov is not getting any votes for the Hart Trophy. He is one of the best players in the NHL. Why isn't he in consideration for the Hart Trophy?
Because he doesn't get along with the media. That's the main reason, dude. I'm telling you straight up. Unfortunately, that shouldn't matter. As we both know, that should not matter. It should be your play on the ice and not your relationship with what is off the ice. But a lot of his issues through the years have been with the media. And I think that's the reason why he's not up or not getting any votes, because the media people are like, well, he's a, you know what, he's an a-hole. He doesn't talk to us. So when you don't give the media their due, that's unfortunate, but yeah.
But in the other issue I have is the people they're talking about for the Hart, they're talking about McDavid, they're talking about Crosby, who's the Penguins might sneak into the playoffs, but it's not likely. Anyway, finish up your recap of the Lightning.
So the reason we didn't have a show last Thursday is I was at the Lightning game, and I guess I picked a pretty good game to go to. One of those comfortable games where you can sit down and relax. You don't have to worry about the other team scoring any goals, which Utah did not. We scored 8 and had a shutout for Vasilevsky. Another good game for Kucherov. He had a goal and 3 assists in that game. And then the closest game, guys, that I went to was on Saturday against the Islanders. And we were, again, up 4-0 in that game. And the third period comes, and the Islanders decide that they want to score goals. They get 3 in the third period unanswered. And then we get an empty netter, which we're just talking about Kucherov. I don't know if you guys watched the highlights. He had a chance to have a wide open empty net, and he threw the puck back to Brandon Hagel, who mishandled it, and the Islanders skated back down the ice with numbers. Unfortunately, luckily enough, we were able to get the puck again, and this time he passed it to Jake Ensel, who buried the empty net goal, and we won 5-3. We have a game tonight on the island against the Islanders, so when we are off this great show here, I will be watching the Lightning against the Islanders later on this evening.
Wait a minute. Don't the Rays also play?
They do. But who's on what? Because that's the question. Who's on?
They'll probably put the Lightning on like Bally Sports, Florida, and put the Rays on Bally Sports Sun. Because I'm sorry, nobody cares about the Marlins.
No.
And sorry, Marlins fans, that you had to hear that from a Rays fan and a Red Sox fan. But it's the truth.
Actually, but it is the Rays game is on FanDuel. They have them on 11. Well, if you have Spectrum, guys, they're on 11:48, and the Magic game is on 11:49 against the Spurs at 8:00. So the Lightning must be on ESPN Plus, if I'm gonna take a big guess.
I'm gonna guess the same thing. It's probably ESPN Plus Hockey Night or something.
Get to watch it because I don't have ESPN Plus, so that's okay.
So anyway, and who is your pick to click this week for hockey with only 8 games left in the regular season?
Well, my co-host was talking earlier about chalk, about not picking chalk players. I'm going to go with Ovechkin. I know that's a chalk player. I know that's the easy one.
I'm laughing for a good reason.
But the guy is on the verge of breaking Wayne Gretzky's goal record. So I cannot.
I don't think either of us thought anybody would ever break Gretzky's goal record.
Well, I think there are some of his records, Bud, that no one will ever break, but I don't think anyone ever thought this one would be broken either. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, I'm going to recap the Blue Jackets' last 3 games from last week. And yes, they do play tonight. And as a Blue Jackets fan, I'd love to see us win tonight against the Canadians. But Montreal, this is the one time I ask. No, Columbus, this is the one time I ask you for a favor. Can you please beat the Canadians for the Lightning? Because if y'all don't know, the Lightning, if they win today in any fashion, and the Canadians lose in regulation to the Blue Jackets, and the Panthers lose in regulation to Nashville, the Lightning officially clinch a playoff spot. But anyway, on to the Blue Jackets were 2-1 last week. They beat the Islanders on the March 24th, 4-3. Then on the 28th, they played the Canucks and won 7-6. And then they lost 3-2 to the Ottawa Senators on the 29th. And yes, they do play the Montreal Canadiens tonight. And like my co-host did, my pick to click for the NHL for this week is the Great 8.
Oh, he picked Ovechkin. Okay.
He is on the Great Chase. I know people have seen my Twitter and how much, I like to talk about the Capitals in the rest of the NHL other than the Blue Jackets and the Lightning. But I have the utmost respect in the world for Ovechkin. He will be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Absolutely.
Hands down. Him, Crosby, Malkin, Letang. Now, we get to baseball, and I will let Bradley go first with his recap of the Boston Red Sox.
So this is not how I wanted to start this show, or the way that we do this show. My Sox are not off to a great start. Yes, we beat the Rangers in Game 1. It was great. I guess there is some good news. They did sign Garrett Crochet to a 6-year, $170 million deal that was finalized today as an extension. So he's going to be a Red Sox for at least the next 6 years until, it is what it is. But we were a 4-game series in Arlington against the Rangers. And can somebody please tell me, why did the Rangers move indoors and not stay outdoors with the heat in Texas and take advantage of that heat in the next couple months of the year when it gets hot? I don't understand that, but that's Ranger fans. You give me the answer to that. Not a good start for Raffy Devers. If you guys all know, Alex Redmond is the new third baseman. There was a little bit of a controversy with him playing third base. He's now DH. And yes, he has started the season 0 for 16 with 12 strikeouts.
No, he had a couple more strikeouts last night.
Okay. So, yeah, so he's 0 for 18 to start the season.
0 for 18 with 18 strikeouts and 5 walks.
5 walks. I know he went and talked. Good.
Can I chime in for a second? So I was listening to something this morning, and people on Twitter, I went on Twitter, and people are saying, oh, the Red Sox broke Rafael Devers. Time to trade him.
No. No. First of all,
and I'll tell you who the main culprit was. I'll give you one guess what team in the American League East it was.
Yankees.
Yep. And that's another thing we can get into is the whole torpedo.
Figure we could talk about that too, but yeah. So we lost one. We only won 1 game out of 4 in Texas, and we lost yesterday to Baltimore, which Baltimore, again, is one of those teams
I noticed. So y'all played yesterday, and then you're off today. What's with the? Why did you play Baltimore yesterday, and all of a sudden you're off today?
That's MLB. I don't know. I know some teams have that where they play 4 games, and then you have a game, then you have a day off. I don't know the whole scenario with how the scheduling is made out, but I'm not too worried about the Red Sox. I think we're okay. I think it's going to take some time to getting adjusted. Devers, I think, will be fine. And I don't know why the Yankees are so worried about the Red Sox. You guys are in first place. What are you worried about the last place?
Well, no, I think they're tied with the Rays for first.
Okay. Well, I mean,
unless they haven't lost, I don't think they've lost a game though, so they might have first place for right now. But Yankees fans, don't get too comfortable in first place because y'all love, and this is going to lead into me recapping the Rays. But Yankees fans, I'm going to give you a little piece of advice: keep first place warm for the Rays because y'all ain't going to have it for long, and keep it warm for the Red Sox too. Because it's going to be between the Rays and Red Sox for first place. Sorry, Baltimore. You and the Yankees can fight for second, and then whoever doesn't get second can get third.
Toronto will be in the basement.
Yeah, with whoever finishes fourth. It's not going to be the Rays. And that leads me into the recap of, as you can see, the Tampa Bay Rays, who took 2 out of 3 from Colorado. On a somber note, though, can we please send our unhappy opinions to the MLB and tell them to stop having Josh Lowe get hurt? I'm sick and tired of it. I've been on this. We've been doing this podcast for a while, and y'all heard me say all throughout the offseason and in spring training and a couple weeks ago when we did our official picks that I thought Josh Lowe was going to have a breakout season. Now, he still could, but it's going to be harder now because I'm not going to say he's going to lose playing time when he comes back, but Jake Mangum, 4 for 4 last night, 2 stolen bases, a run scored, two runs driven in. Okay, I'm going to say this. I apologize to the people that wanted Chandler Simpson up, he will be up at some point this year. The issue is he is not on the 40-man roster, which means if the Rays wanted to bring him up, either they would have to put somebody on the 60-day or DFA somebody, which that I don't think that's an option right now. Because look at the bullpen. The bullpen pitched really well over the weekend. Fairbanks looks like he's back to pre-injury Fairbanks.
He's a great closer, by the way.
He is. Mason Montgomery pitched well. And I saw Mason Montgomery consistently at least 4 or 5 times in his appearance hit 100 miles an hour. And you're going to tell me that he can't be a 7th or 8th inning guy? And I know that's what not Red Sox, but I know that's what Yankees fans are going to say. Oh, the Rays, they get away with all this buffoonery, not spending money and then developing. Yeah, Yankees, what do you know about developing your prospects? Half the time, you trade them away. Anyway, they took 2 out of 3 from Colorado. The 2 pitching performances that really stood out to me over the weekend were Taj Bradley on Sunday. And then last night, they beat the Pirates 6-1, and Drew Rasmussen pitched really well. I can understand why they took Drew Rasmussen out after 5 innings because he's just coming back into the rotation, and he was out hurt almost all of last year. And I don't think they want to have the same problem that the Pirates are having with Jared Jones. I don't think they want him to have to get another elbow surgery. And Bradley, who is your... Oh, and the Rays have 2 more games against the Pirates, 1 tonight and then 1 tomorrow afternoon. And then they go on the road for the first time this year, starting Friday night, and they play the Texas Rangers, which I'm hoping they can take 2 out of 3 from Texas, but I don't think it's likely. Who is your pick to... Well, no, we still have got our MLB tier rankings. And ladies and gentlemen, the way this is going to work is these are going to get updated every week throughout the season. So if you see a team right now that's in either pretender or rebuilder, they have the opportunity to move up or down or stay where they are in our tier rankings. And Bradley, actually, I'll pull mine up and we can alternate. We're going to start with the teams that are in your rebuilders. So I will give my first one. It is the Colorado Rockies. Unfortunately, Rockies fans, it's going to be another tough year for the Rockies. But I do like the promising young players you have in Zach Veen, who should have made the opening day roster, need I add. And same with Chase Dollander, but I can understand why you wanted them to wait to be on the opening day roster. And yes, we will get to the whole torpedo bat thing. And we will get to talking about some wrestling too. But we're going to get through this first. So who is your first rebuilding team?
Actually, but I'll be honest with you. I agree with everything on your list. I don't really have anything different because I'm looking at what you have and I have my list. I don't have anything different than you have. So for now, until some
explanations though for the teams.
Well, I mean, the Rockies, I think with Colorado for a long time, it's been ownership that has been the biggest issue in Colorado. But I mean, they're a young team. So again, with any time you have young players, it takes a while for that group to become consistent with each other. So that's why I think that they're definitely in rebuild mode. That's definitely where the Rockies would be.
Okay, so my next rebuilding team, and I know their fans are not going to be happy about this, is the San Francisco Giants. Yes, Giants fans, I understand you went out and signed Willie Adames, and you signed how old's Dustin Verlander now? I've lost track of how old he is.
He's ancient.
Seems like it. And they say, oh, he ages like fine wine. Yeah, how long is that wine going to last until it wears off? Anyway, I'm sorry, Giants fans. What is your... And plus you have a new GM and Buster Posey. What is your
The thing with the
sentiment
Giants,
behind the Giants?
they lost a lot of. I mean, they lost some players during the offseason. The only benefit to Verlander is they're in a pitcher's ballpark. That ballpark is huge in San Francisco. So they are in a pitcher's ballpark, which could favor him. But the thing with Verlander is if and only if, and they're right now they're in a rebuild mode, so we probably won't even be talking playoffs for them. Let's say some magical reason they do get into the playoff picture. How long do you think he's going to last? That's not going to work come playoffs. Because, I mean,
No.
if he makes, I don't know, what, 16, 18 starts this year, he's not a spring chicken. So that's why I think the Giants are kind of in that mode where they reset. I mean, if you guys remember, in the early 2000s, they won multiple World Series.
With Buster Posey as their catcher.
So I
Buster
think
Posey, Brandon Bell, Brandon Crawford.
Yeah, they had Pablo Sandoval at third base. They had a bunch of good players. I think Posey knows what he needs to do. I think you give him a couple years.
The thing I like about him compared to their old GM is he's not afraid to spend money.
There you go.
That's why they're rebuilders right now, but I think if they're in the mix when it comes to the end of July toward the trade deadline, I don't think they'll be afraid to go out and make a big time move because, like we talk about the Yankees with trading prospects, the Giants will do the same thing in a heartbeat. Now, I'll let you go first. What is your sentiment? As you can see, I have the Angels as a rebuilder. I know you agree with that, but what is your kind of perspective of the Angels? How far do you think they are into the rebuild? Can they compete this year?
Not until they get new ownership. Because like I just said with the Rockies, when you don't spend money on your team and you literally piss off your fans.
Mean, they kind of did with Soler and Kikuchi. But those are two aging veterans that I think if they're out of it at the deadline, they're going to flip both of them for prospects.
Yeah, that's what I don't understand is you have an owner who, supposedly they're the leader in LA. Obviously, they're not because the Dodgers have been there.
Which we'll get to the Dodgers in a second.
But it all starts at the top with the Angels. Is they need to get somebody in there that wants to spend money on the team. Maybe like you said, Bud, they'll do something along the lines of what the Rays do: draft these kids, build them up, and bring up a young team. Mike Trout, God love him, one of the best players ever to wear a baseball jersey.
Hey, Mike, if you're watching this, request a trade.
Never been to the postseason. That's sad. It's very sad. And he's not going to leave the Angels. He's already said, I don't want to be traded. If you trade me, I'm retiring. So he's already told them I'm not going to play for anybody else. So, yeah, until they can get an owner who cares about baseball, then I think they're going to be a rebuilder for a long time coming.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I agree with everything you just said there. Now we're going to get... So, the last two rebuilding teams, I really had a particularly difficult time because people are saying these two teams could be contenders, and it's the Cardinals and the Twins. The Cardinals, we obviously both know. that they're going to have new ownership after this year. So it would only make sense for them to be in a rebuild, wouldn't it?
Yes, I agree, bud. Yep.
Even though they're 3-1 to start the season.
Again, it's early, so
yeah. So like we said before we started this segment, this block of the show, is these tier rankings are going to change every week during the season. So if you see a team in rebuilder right now, like for example the Giants, they could be in rebuilder right now, but then next week they could be a pretender and they could switch spots with somebody that we will talk about in a minute. That's in the pretenders. The Cardinals, I do like how they're giving some of their young players an opportunity to play, like Victor Scott, Matthew Liberatore, who's starting tonight, who used to be a prospect for the Rays. But how ironic is this? He was included in a trade for a guy that's not with a team we're going to talk about in a second that's in the pretenders. He was included in that Randy Arozarena trade. And then the Twins, we obviously talked about this over the offseason, how they were talking about shedding payroll. And when you look at the Twins, who is getting paid the most money on the Twins? There's two guys that stick out to me. Actually,
Springer's one of them.
Twins. Buxton.
Yep.
Correa.
I'm sorry, I got the wrong former Astro. Sorry. Yeah. Correa.
And then Pablo Lopez. I could see if the Twins, and I did my predictions before the season, I have the Twins finishing fifth in the American League Central. Yes, Twins fans, you can give me all the hoopla you want. Oh, we're going to overdo expectations. Problem is, you can't keep your big three healthy. And that big three is Carlos Correa, Royce Lewis, and Byron Buxton. Who's already hurt? Royce Lewis. And they've already came out and said there's no distinct timeline for his return. So that is why right now the Twins are a rebuilder. Now, like we've said twice already, they can easily either get put in the pretender category or the contender category next week. Now we get to the pretenders. And yes, I know I'm going to get laughed at for 2 out of these 4 teams. And I think Bradley and I talked about one of them before the show. But we will get to that one in a second. We're going to talk about what is your stance on the Seattle Mariners. Do you think they can be a real contender, or is their lineup too weak?
Again, being that it's early, I would put them on the cusp, like on the fence of pretender contender. So they could be either one. They're one of unfortunately, Mariners fans, you guys are one of the teams in the MLB that has never been to a World Series, and it's unfortunate. Yeah, I mean, it's going to depend on that lineup. If they're able to score runs and hit, they'll be fine. But again, they're one of those teams that you play in the AL West with the likes of the Rangers.
The A's, who have surprised so far earlier in the season, dare I say.
The Astros are hanging. They're there too. It's hard. It's going to be hard. Now, if they play well within their division, then that's great. If you want to make them a contender over a pretender, then they have to play well in the AL West, because that's when it's all going to come down to the end of the season, is when they get into that final wild card spot. So I would put them on the pretender contender fence. They could be on either side of the fence.
I would too, and it's just because right now they're without one of their starters. I believe it's either Logan Gilbert or George Kirby's out. I believe it's George Kirby, and I don't know how long George Kirby's going to be out for. Now, these next two, normally they'd be in the rebuilder category, but for the first week of the season, for the first weekend of the season, they actually had a good weekend. And the first team is the second team in the pretender category right now is the Chicago White Sox. Yes. Yes, we know how bad it went last year for the White Sox. I like the strides I've seen early in it. I know it's only 5 games in for them now, but I like the early returns I'm getting from new manager Will Venable and some of their young guys like a Shane Smith, a Sean Burke, Davis Martin, Jonathan Cannon. And it looks like we're seeing what a healthy Luis Robert can do, which didn't really happen last year. And I think we both know if the White Sox are out of it at the deadline, Luis Robert is going to, and if Luis Robert keeps hitting and producing, he will be a hot commodity at the trade deadline.
Yes, he will be.
There will be at least 15 to 20 teams that line up to try to get his services. Now the next team on the pretender list is Bradley, help me out. Who is it?
It's the Miami Marlins.
Who, ironically, how did they win most of their games last year? Refresh my memory. What did they do in the ninth inning?
They
the old walk-off.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And how did they win their first 3 games of this year against the Pirates?
Walk-offs.
Uh-huh. And you know what? I know we dogged on them all off season, and I know it's early in the season, but I'm going to say this. They have some promising players. And if they can put it all together, I'm not saying this year, but maybe 2026, 2027, they can be in that contender category because they've got some interesting prospects that we've covered on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And Davis De Los Santos, Noble Meyer, Agustin Ramirez, that are going to, I would say the first 2 that are going to come up are going to be, because Noble Meyer's in Double-A, and I think he's only 18 or 19 years old. So it's going to be Agustin Ramirez and Davis De Los Santos that obviously come up first. And then the last team that's a pretender, and I'm sorry to do this, because I do have 4 AL East teams in the contender category. And the Marlins and the Blue Jays are the 2 I really had a difficult time with putting either in the rebuilder category or pretender. So, Toronto fans, you can, as we like to say, put your thoughts in the comments down below. But what is I'll let you go first with your 2 cents on the Blue Jays.
I think the biggest question is, are they going to bring back Vladdy? That's, I think, the question that's looming right now is, do you bring him back or do you bring back Bichette? I mean, it's going to come down to one of those 2. I don't think Toronto can keep both. I know as far as Vladdy goes, the contract talks have stopped. From what I'm hearing, if Toronto loses one or both of those players, that's hard. I mean, then they go back to being a team that, again, then they would move up from pretenders to rebuilders, because you're definitely rebuilding after losing, 2 big bats like that. So we'll have to wait and see the rest of this season goes with them. But again, they're one of those teams too that at the end of the day could be right in the thick of it when it's all said and done. Because if injuries happen to the Yanks, the Sox, or the Orioles or the Rays in general, where you're out for a long time, they can sneak in and get some wins. They could be right back in the thick of it. Now,
Well, I
think
mean, the Rays are already kind of dealing with some injuries. McClanahan, Josh Lowe. But I agree with what you said on Toronto. Now we get to the contenders. And we're going to start at the bottom of the contenders line. And we're going to start with the A's. Let me know what you think about the A's. Yes, I know it's early in the season, but...
Well, the A's are one of those teams, again, I think that are a surprise so far. And you know what? Sorry, Oakland. Maybe them moving to Sacramento woke them up. Maybe it's time. Maybe it was just a new change of scenery. Maybe it was getting out of the city that didn't appreciate them. And they do have an...
And let me say this. R.I.P. Ricky Henderson.
Yes. Well, we were talking earlier, buddy, about Gretzky's records. I don't think anyone is going to break. The only person I could say right now that could break Henderson's steal record would be De La Cruz.
Yep.
But other than that, I think just the change of scenery for the A's has helped. Obviously, they won't be playing in Las Vegas. So I think it's 3 years. I think they'll be in Sacramento.
2028 is when they'll be starting in Vegas.
Yeah, the stadium gets built.
And hopefully by then, the Rays will have a new stadium.
Yes, I agree. But that's my take on the A's. Change of scenery helped them out.
I completely agree with that. Now we're going to get to the Phillies. And I'm going to say 2 words. Max Kepler. Seems like change of scenery helped him too. Because where has he been his whole career? Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
And he struggled in Minnesota. What was his issue in Minnesota? Couldn't stay. And we say this about a lot of MLB players. Couldn't stay
healthy.
And what has he done? I know it's at a limited sample size so far in Philly with the Phillies. With Philadelphia. But what has he done? Other than, he did come out of spring training with an injury. That's why he wasn't on the opening day roster. But since he's come back in the regular season, what has he done so far? Stayed healthy. Now we get to the Milwaukee Brewers. What is and this is the other one. I really couldn't decide. I wanted to put them as contenders. I wanted to put them as pretenders. I wanted to put them as rebuilders. But what are they really?
They're an enigma. It all depends, but on what team shows up, because they could be, excuse me, one of the 3 in any week. They could be a rebuilder one week, and the next week they're a pretender, and the next week they're a contender. So they're an enigma in Milwaukee.
Well, and the problem with them is, like a couple other teams, their pitching depth is getting tested. They put Aaron Civale on the injured list. They put Tobias Myers on the injured list. And they've had to call up 2 guys from AAA that one of them hasn't made a major league start since 2011. And now it's 11 years later, and he made his first major league start in 11 years the other day. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that's your interesting stat of the day. And leave it to the Brewers to be the ones to give out the interesting stat.
And rest in peace, Bob Uecker, the long-awaited voice of the Brewers.
The long-time voice of the Brewers. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. So, the Pirates are next. And I do like their young talent. And we get to see another one of their young pitchers tonight as Thomas Harrington makes his major league debut against the Rays. And I've read the articles on him. Great command, controls the strike zone. So the Rays might have some trouble, but we saw what happened in the fourth inning last night against Carmen Majinski. Yes, that is a weird last name, but you get that with a lot of guys in MLB. Anyway, where do you think the Pirates stand? I know it's early in the season, and some people would say, oh, they're a rebuilder.
They might be. They're young, and if they get off to a hot start, that might continue on through the season with them. Obviously, as baseball fans, as me and Alec are, the pitching matchup that we want to see with the Rays and the Pirates is tomorrow.
Skeens and Pepio.
But don't overlook tonight. I mean, this kid's making his major league debut. Do you know what that means? Not a lot of film on him. So he's going to have his way early on with the Rays hitters until they adjust. And when they adjust, it's going to be up to him then to readjust. If he doesn't adjust, then the Rays will win. If not, then we might see this kid win in his major league debut.
And how funny is this? You know who he's going up against? He's going up against the guy that was a throw-in as a player to be named later in the Austin Meadows trade.
Shane Baz.
Yep. That's probably one of the worst trades in the history of the Pirates. It was Austin Meadows and there was two. Well, Shane Baz was the player to be named later. It was Austin Meadows and somebody else.
Two players were in that. Yeah, forget who the other two were in that deal.
Anyway, that just shows you that sometimes you make a trade that might come back to bite you in the tush. Anyway, now we get to the dare I say the Bash Bombers.
No, yeah, they're
and they configured a new cheating tactic that apparently is legal in MLB, which we will get to after this segment's over. But I think it's safe to say right now, I know it's early in the season, but Aaron Judge is probably the favorite for the MVP.
I agree.
And he's one of the few Yankees that is not using that new bat that we will name in a second.
Well, if you look back at their first game, the first three hitters on 3 pitches got home runs against their former pitcher, by the way, and from Milwaukee. So Cortez came back to Yankee Stadium in a way that you probably don't want to come back. When you have Goldschmidt, who was it? Goldschmidt,
Judge,
and who was the other one that hit the home run?
Wells.
I'm sorry, Austin Wells. My apologies, Austin Wells. All go first pitch out of the ballpark, and in that ballpark, obviously, if you get the fans riled up, as we all know in the Bronx, it's kind of really an uphill battle.
Yeah, it is.
When you get and then what did they? I think the game on Saturday they had what? 8 home runs. 9 home runs.
And Judge had 3 home runs.
Yeah. I think he had 8 RBIs, but correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're spot on. That's absurd.
So, if you look at that score, the Brewers only scored 9 runs, which means he almost outscored the Brewers single-handedly.
Yes, he did.
So yeah.
Then we
Yep.
get to the San Diego Padres. And what do you think about the Padres so far early in the season?
I went out on a limb. I think that they're going to be the one team that contends with the Dodgers in the West. I know a lot of people think I'm going to be crazy by saying that, but if they can stay, again, the big thing, big question, obviously with everything is if they can stay healthy all season, they'll be right there with the Dodgers when it's all said and done. And I mean, early on, they're showing you why they can be that team this season. So I'm looking for them to be right there behind, either right behind LA or just ahead of LA when it's all said and done at the end of the year.
Next, and I agree with everything you said about the Padres. Next is the Red Sox. And take it away, since you're a Red Sox fan.
It's too early. I know we're 1-3, or or 1-4. I think no, we are 1-3. We have played 5 games. We're 1-4. My apologies. It's too early. I think Devers will find his. I mean, the guy when I covered the Rays last year was coming in on a 5-game home run streak where he had hit a home run in every game. And he continued that streak, I think, during that series. But it's too early in the season to like write them off yet. I mean, first weekend, so we got off to a bad start. I think we'll be fine when it's all said and done at the end of the season.
And next, and I agree with you as a Rays fan, it is too early in the season to really. I give it till like June, July. Then that's when I know, oh, this team's actually going to be good, or they're going to be a rebuilder, or they're going to be a pretender that contends for the playoffs, but then they just miss out. Like the next team that's a contender, that is the Detroit Tigers. Yes, I know I know they haven't won a game yet, but they've got Jackson Jobe, and he made Vladimir Guerrero Jr. look ridiculously silly the other day. I believe it was Vlad. It was somebody that he threw him, the guy a fastball, threw him a changeup, then he threw him a curveball, and he struck him out on like 3 or 4 pitches. And I saw the highlight of it. I'm like, okay, that's unfair. He started him with and you will get our take on the Tigers here in a second. This is just a little side note. It might have been Vladdy, actually. He started him with like a fastball, middle in, and Vladdy swung at it. And you could tell Vladdy was it was like an uncomfortable swing. Because the ball was like this far in. He swung at it. Then he gave him a changeup down at like the knees. And Vladdy just turns and looks like, and he asked the umpire for time. He steps out. And he turns to the dugout, and I think he said, you got to be joking me. And then he gets a curveball that just, you've heard the term getting buckled. It was a curveball at the knees, and it just
Or the
froze
deer
him.
look like froze up, like can't move. Yeah.
Yeah, it locked him up. And I saw like I said, I saw the clip, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this kid might win Rookie of the Year. But that's not the guy I want to talk about at the Tigers. It's not Jackson Jobe. It's somebody that I talked about in the offseason. And Bradley might know who it is. He was a former first round top 10 pick for the Tigers. Was supposed to be their future first baseman. Spencer Torkelson. He has shown an improved eye at the plate. And what was my quote I said before this season? If he was going to have a breakout season, what was he going to have to do more?
Hit.
That was one. What was the second one? I said, and I quote, He needs to be more patient at the plate. What did he do on opening day? Walked 4 times.
Quite disappointing.
And he showed us a side of him that he didn't show previously. He stole a couple of bases. And right now he's in the lineup every day because Gleyber Torres is out injured. And they moved Colt Keith back to second base. So, what do you think of the Tigers so far? Obviously, I know you really like Jackson Jobe.
Yeah, I don't think Bud. And again, like you said earlier, they haven't won a game yet. Again, pump the brakes. It's still early in the season. This team will be a contender when it's all said and done too. They're young. They have everything going for them. It's been a while since they were in the World Series or in the
Jackson
American.
Jobe.
So yeah, I think they're definitely in the right category here. They're not a rebuilding team and they're not a pretender. That they are going to be a contender in the AL Central when it's all said. So
now we get to the Rays. And that large huff you just heard is, oh boy, they have 2 big injuries already. And it's Shane McClanahan and Josh Lowe. But what is the phrase that everybody always says in the world of baseball or any sport? Next man. Yep. Next man up. And in that case for the Rays right now in the outfield, it's a combination of a guy that hit his first major league home run on opening day to win the game, and Cameron Meisner, which I was going to text Bradley this, but I was watching the game. I'm like, and I went out to get something to drink. And in my head, I'm like, what if Cameron Meisner gets the game-winning hit? And what happens not even 5 minutes later?
walk off.
Cameron Meisner. It's like I spoke it into. It's like I spoke it into existence. But anyway, Cameron Meisner made the team because of the injury to Richie Palacios. And then obviously, we know Jake Mangum was going to probably be the first outfielder called up if there was an injury. Because like we said earlier, Chandler Simpson's not on the 40-man yet. And the Rays have a full 40-man. And the one bright spot I saw from the 3-game, the series one for the Rays was the bullpen. And what is your thoughts on the Rays bullpen? I know it's early in the season, but what do you think of this bullpen? It's the deepest. Kevin Cash said it's the deepest bullpen the Rays have had in years.
Well, they've always been their bullpen's always been good. And I got the luxury last year of going to many games to cover them as a press member. A lot of times, if they were in close games last year, it was pretty good saying that they were going to either keep the team from scoring at all or scoring minimal runs where they weren't going to lose the game. They're solid. Obviously, we were talking about Pete Fairbanks, who want to tell you is one of the most friendliest guys that the Rays have. I've got a chance to talk to him a couple times. But yeah, he's definitely the closer. I know he was rumored last year to be on the trade block near the end. I think it was him and Yanni Diaz were both out there on the deadline. And I remember being there the day of the game. Deadline ended, and we got to interview Eric Neander, who's the GM for the Rays. And neither one of them got traded. So that's good. I mean, I think the Rays are going to win 92 to 93 games this year, and that might sound crazy to a lot of people. They're in a hitter's ballpark at Steinbrenner Field. If Josh Lowe comes back and can stay healthy, that's definitely going to help. But as you can see with anything in the past seasons with the Rays. They just have the next guy up that can fill in that gap. There's not a huge gap between the next guy in the minors and AAA and Durham to the big club, and that's down to the management of the Rays and the way that they run their minor league system. So they're off to a good start. Hopefully they win the next two. I know most likely they'll win tonight, but tomorrow we'll see. Tomorrow we'll see about tomorrow's game. But today they're going up against a rookie pitcher. If they can get to him early and get him jarred a little bit, you're going to win that game. And again, you're at home. Yeah, I think this is the second night game this year at Steinbrenner Field, so they'll be fine.
Well, then the next team we get to is the team the Red Sox played to open the season, the Texas Rangers. What is your stance on the Rangers? Obviously, they're a contender, but do you think they're a favorite for the World Series?
I don't think they're a favorite. They do pitch well and they do hit the ball. They have that roster in line, and again, they won the World Series 2 years ago. So they're there.
Well, but here's a weird stat of the day. What happens with Bruce Bochy? It seems to happen every odd year. So think of odd numbers. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. We're at 2025. Every odd year, Bruce Bochy seems to, his team that he's managing always seems to do good in those odd years. And it just happens to be an odd year this year. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if they made the World Series this year and won.
Wouldn't be a surprise either, honestly.
Next, we get to the
do we even have to say anything about them?
The deferral. Oh, I'm going to defer all my money. Los Angeles Dodgers. And no, we don't because they're undefeated. So on to the next.
There's nothing you can say about them because they have a great lineup.
They need to. There's people out there saying, oh, they need to go out and trade for this person. They need to go out and sign this person. They need to go out and sign Trevor Bauer. They need to go out and sign so-and-so. I say, no, they don't need any more help. Stop giving them excuses to go out and sign more people or
Correct.
trade for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
We get to the Baltimore Orioles are the next team. And yes, we're both going to give our opinions on this, but where do you stand on the Orioles after 5 games? I think it's 5. No, it's 4.
Yeah, they're good. They obviously they don't have Gunnar Henderson. He's on the IL to start the season.
Well, they don't have him. They don't have Kyle Bradish. They don't have Tyler Wells. They don't have
O'Neill, who was a Red Sox last year, who is
7 straight game. I think it's 7 straight years on opening day with a home run.
Yeah. So they're gonna
out of the day there.
Yeah.
Which can he make it 8 next year?
Be interesting if he can.
And I agree with everything you said. Right now, they don't have Gunnar Henderson, their best player. And I know there's going to be people who say, oh, no, that's Adley Rutschman. That's Jackson Holiday. Okay, yes, you can make the argument. Adley is one of their best players. But you could also say the same thing about Gunnar Henderson. Jackson Holiday, I think it's a little too early to put him in that discussion because this is his first full season at the MLB level. Next team we get to is the Kansas City Royals. In one word, Bobby Witt Jr. AL MVP favorite from both of us.
Mm-hmm.
I have jumped on that train. I was hesitant when we did our thing. As y'all saw, I had somebody different winning AL MVP. But obviously, as you know, that changes. And I think Bobby Witt is probably the odds-on favorite right now, and he's probably got the shortest odds to win MVP in the American League, other than maybe obviously Aaron Judge.
Well, we both, and we'll be talking wrestling later. We both believe in Joe Henry. I think we both believe in Bobby Witt. The kid is.
I believe in Bobby Witt Jr.
I honestly, he. I mean, he's obviously, well, he's already an all-star, but he's just one of those. He could be one of those generational players
generational face of
that
the
come along.
franchise.
I think that we're starting to see. I mean, we already saw what he can do. I think he's getting better at what. And the Royals, I mean, you have a guy in Salvador Perez, their catcher,
Who's
been
been there for.
Will be a first ballot Hall of Famer when he does decide to hang his cleats up. But I mean, the Royals are solid enough. They're one of those teams that again, don't take this the wrong way, baseball fans. They're a small market team like the A's and the Rays, and they're not a big team like the Dodgers or the Phillies or the Red Sox or the Yankees that have a lot of money. They're a team that, just like the Rays, they have to build from within their minor league system and bring these kids up. And Bobby Witt Jr. is one of those kids that they were able to bring up and mature. So I think they're definitely in a contender role. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about the Royals.
I don't either. Next, we get to the New York Mets. Or as I like to call them, Meet the Mets.
Mm-hmm.
And the main Met is the $800 million man.
Juan Soto.
Yep. Which Yankees fans like to cry that he took more money, and so do Phillies fans, to go to the Mets than either to stay with the Yankees or go to Philadelphia. And I'm here to say this, Phillies fans, y'all have no place to talk. Look who you're paying a lot of money to. Trey Turner, Bryce Harper,
Mm-hmm.
Nicholas Castellanos, Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler, JT Realmuto. That's 6 players, 6 guys I just named. You're paying them probably close to what Juan Soto is getting paid. So, and same with the Yankees. So those two organizations, fan bases, have absolutely no room to say anything. And there's another fan base that has no room to say anything either, and we will get to them in a little bit. And I think that fan base knows who we are referring to. But anyway, the Mets have started off the season, I'm going to say pretty good. Clay Holmes looks like a different person as a starting pitcher than he does out of the bullpen. What do you think about that transition for Clay Holmes?
Well, again, we talked earlier about the change of scenery thing, and that could be something that he needed to do. Maybe it was one of those like kick in the butt situations where oh, I'm a starter now, so now I'm going to have to go out there and off the bat be good, because that's what you have to do as a starting pitcher. You can't have 2 or 3 bad innings or you're going to be out, or you leave your bullpen hanging your bullpen out to dry. The Mets are fine. You got Soto, and Steve Cohen, their owner, will spend money. he's a billionaire. He's not afraid.
He ain't afraid to spend money.
I think this will be one of the first times in a long time that they'll be right there with Atlanta and Philadelphia when it's all said and done at the end of the year. I think it'll be a 3-team race for the NL East this year.
I missed a team. Where would you put the Nationals on this list?
Oh yeah, that's right. We didn't put them. I think the Nationals are a rebuilder. They're yeah, they're a long way away. I know they won their World Series in 18, 19. What year did they beat the
18.
Ash team? Um yeah, I think they're in the rebuilder category for right now, for the Washington Nationals. I didn't even notice that until I brought up the NL East, and you were like, "Oh yeah, the Nationals, yeah."
Well,
That's
that's on me because I was doing this and I just now realized that the Nationals aren't on there. I will make sure Nationals fans, don't worry. Don't get mad at me in the comments. I will make sure they're in here next week.
hmm
I will make sure they're in here next week. And my co host can even remind me to put them
Sure.
on the tier rankings.
Yeah.
So now we get to the two Ohio teams. The Guardians are first. Can
The
we
Guardians.
dare say that Jose Ramirez is a doctor now? Because that's what the Guardians commentators were saying the other day after he got a hit, after coming back from a wrist injury. They're like, oh, if Jose Ramirez says his wrist is fine, just listen to Jose Ramirez.
Mhm. Yeah, the Guardians are their pitching is solid, obviously, and again, it's early in the week, early in the year, but they'll be in the thick of it. Um,
I'm going to say
they
this. There's a
go,
guy on
but
their team that has one of the best nicknames in baseball. John Kinsey Noel. John Kinsey Noel's nickname is Big Christmas. One of the best nicknames of all time. And find me another nickname that's better than that. Obviously, I mean, there's gonna be old time baseball fans that say Randy Johnson, Nolan Ryan, but modern day, you can't tell me there's a nickname that's better than Big Christmas. But yes,
the
I agree with you on everything you said about the Guardians. Go ahead.
I was gonna say the thing I don't understand, I don't understand with their name is I
What are
understand
you
they
guarding?
that's my what are you guarding in Cleveland? The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? I don't know what you're guarding in Cleveland.
Are
I
you
know
guarding that and I'm sorry to say this, are you guarding that the Cleveland Browns are the worst team in the NFL?
that's a possibility. I was gonna say if the current Washington, the Commanders go back to the Redskins, I think Cleveland should go back to be calling the Indians. I think I know I grew up and they were the Indians, and then Major League came along and all that stuff. But yeah, I think again they'll be in the thick of it in the AL Central. Um, they won the division last year, so I can't see why they can't do it again this year.
Yeah. And then we got the Cincinnati Reds, and they're basically a one man show. And how many times have we said this person's name?
Ellie De La Cruz.
Yeah. How many times have we said it per show? Like 10?
Well, not to jump ahead, but he's my pick to click. So, but yeah, yeah. I think I was talking to my boss about this at the hockey game on Thursday. I think Tito Francona, great manager, was with the Red Sox. We won World Series with him. I think he's going to help. I think the Reds are that team that could be. I think me and Alec on our prediction show. I think they're a dark horse. They're a team that no one is talking about, and you know
And
why?
by
Good.
the way, if you haven't watched that, highly recommend it because you'll see who I had in that video in the World Series. And no, it was not the Rays. We've talked about both the teams I had in the World Series already, and I agree everything you said about the Reds. I believe in Ellie De La Cruz. Sorry, Joe Hendry, that we've used your theme song reference 4 or 5 times tonight. If you
That's
appear, yay.
addicting a theme song. It stays in your head
Yes,
forever.
and we will get to talk a little bit about WWE after this segment is over because we have some not nice things to say about John Cena. But anyway, let's wrap this up. We've got 4 teams left. We go to the Atlanta Braves, who have all of a sudden now Ronaldo Lopez is out injured, and then Jerickson Profar got popped for PEDs. So, do we still believe in the Atlanta Braves?
They might again. Just I think I was talking, buddy, about the Mariners. I think the Braves might be on that fence, a pretender and contender. They've lost players, obviously. They're still waiting on their All-Star to come
There are
back too.
2 All-Stars in Strider and Acuna.
Yeah. So if they can kind of keep it, par until those 2 come back, they're going to be fine. But again, they're in a, when you have the Mets who are good, the Phillies obviously are good. Yeah, it's going to
And
be.
the Nationals, who might sneak up on you.
Uh-huh.
And I agree with everything you said about the Braves. Now we get to the
Astros.
the lowly Astros. And I'm sorry to all the Astros fans out here that watch the show, but that's just how I feel about you. You're lowly garbage cheaters, which I'm never going to get over. You're just like the Michigan Wolverines, who, for a second here, I'm going to say something. They got off easy. They're not going to get any postseason ban for what they did, which is a disgrace.
That's the NCAA.
Yep. Back to the Astros. The one bright spot I see with them, not their rotation. Cam Smith, who made the team out of spring training, he's continued to hit. Where do you stand? I know neither of us like the Astros, but we have to talk positively about them.
Yeah, we have to be partial. That's that term in sports. You have to be partial to everybody. The Astros, they're going to go as far as their hitting takes them. That's what they've always been known for. They lost Bregman, but they unfortunately, the unfortunate part is I think they have enough pitching and hitting to battle for a playoff spot. I mean, that's all I'm going to say about Houston. They're not going to. I mean, if they're not there, then I'm wrong. But I think as of right now, I think they have enough to be there to battle for at least for a wild card spot at the end of the season.
And let's quickly go over the last 2, the Cubs and the Diamondbacks. Where do you stand on both of them?
Yeah, they're both contenders too. The Diamondbacks were in the World Series against the Rangers a few years ago. They have probably one of the best starting pitchers as their ace in Arizona, and they'll be in it when it's all said and done. I think with the Cubs are the Cubs. They just don't see they have a bad year, and then they find some young players, and then they're right back in the thick of it. So again, I think the Cubs will be, there again when it's all said and done.
I agree with you on both. Now we are going to give our picks to click for MLB, and you kind of already gave yours, but tell the people again who your pick to click is.
Oh, it's Elly De La Cruz. The kid hit 2 homers in the other day, and now that on top of, if he can hit home runs and steal bases, he's very dangerous. That makes him even more dangerous than he already is right now. So, yes.
My pick to click, I did not go with anybody on the Rays. I went with another team that's playing in a minor league ballpark. I went with Brett Rooker of the Sacramento Athletics. Or as they're being called, the correct term is the Athletics.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're going to wrap up the show with talking about WWE and Monday Night Raw and maybe a little bit of SmackDown. But we're going to start with John Cena. And I'll let my John Cena and a little bit of Seth Rollins, but I will let my co-host have the honors of going first and giving his unpleasurable 2 cents about John Cena and that ugly promo he gave last night.
God, you have to understand something. John Cena is playing the heel turn to a T. He is telling the fans exactly how they are. I mean, if you look at how it is, there are half of them that cheer for him, there are half of them that hate him. And still to this day, and I got to watch the highlights of Raw last night where he was out to talk and he got interrupted and then fired at Cody a little bit about certain things, and then Cody fired back at him. But he's playing the heel role very well. I hate to say this, but I think in a couple weeks he is going to win the belt because they're not doing this heel turn for him not to win. And if it's not at WrestleMania, it will be at a future event.
I don't think it's going to be Mania. I think he's going to probably take the belt off of either Jay or Gunther, which is another thing we can talk about. But do you still have respect for John Cena?
I do, and I will never hate him. He's one of those wrestlers that it's hard to hate him. And I hope he does win. I hope he breaks Ric Flair's record. That's what I hope happens before he hangs it up full time. That he does win a belt, whether it's off of Cody or off of Jay or off of Gunther. I hope he does. He is able to win that 17th championship. I haven't lost. John is a great person on the mic. We all know that, and he's doing exactly what he's always done. The man will tell you what's on his mind. He doesn't hide behind, how he makes anyone feel. He'll come out and tell you. So I have not lost respect for John Cena.
The only thing, but both of us know he's working for The Rock.
Yes. Now, I have a question about that. Him and The Rock have had, rivalries against each other many times in their careers. I'm wondering, and this is just me, if this is one of those where I'm the heel, I'm working for you right now, Rocky, but then I'm going to screw you over down the road somewhere. I'm going to screw you. I mean, that's what I've been envisioning.
No, I completely agree with you. It's the exact same thing. I think once Cena realizes that all Rock wants is to manipulate him, I think Cena's going to realize that, okay, maybe this heel turn thing, yes, it was good at first, but maybe I need to go back to being a face.
I think he will be a face before he hangs it up. There's no way he's going to leave a heel. Not happening.
And then we will get back to Jay and Gunther and Jimmy in a second. But we're going to switch over to SmackDown because there's 2 big stories going on SmackDown. First one is Jacob Fatu. And we've said this numerous times, haven't we? He is a loose cannon. Mm-hmm. He does whatever he wants. And I think they're doing a good job of planting the seeds for him breaking away from Solo and kind of forming his own, whether it be bloodline or like faction.
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone, you have to remember, Tongaloa is still out injured. He comes back. Do you think, I understand his brother's with Solo right now, but do you think if Tongaloa comes back and he convinces his brother and says, we should probably go with Jacob because Solo is not living up to what he's done, and he lost to Ulufala. So, I think that, go ahead.
No, I could definitely see that, but if when he comes back, when Tonga, is it Tonga or is it
Tongaloa? Tonga is there right now. Tongaloa's hurt.
When he comes back, I could definitely see that getting them getting away from Solo, which I don't know what they're going to do with Solo Sikoa, because if they do that,
well,
I don't know what.
See, the thing I've heard is that Solo and Jacob, if Jacob's not in the multi-man match for the U.S. title, that Solo and Jacob are supposed to have a match at Mania. And I think that's where Jacob breaks away from Solo and turns face. Because he's done a good job as a heel, but I think both of us can tell by his demeanor and body language that he's showing signs of slowly turning into a baby face.
Mm-hmm.
And give that man mic time. Whew. That man can cook on the mic.
There's another guy too. I think that when Jacob Fatu first came out, he never talked. We never heard from him. He's another one of those guys that plays well with the crowd. Like, he doesn't care if you're booing him. He's told that many times, boo me all you want. I don't care. We don't care. And again, as we were just talking earlier, but about loose cannon, you don't want to make him mad. I don't know if you really want to piss him off in any way, shape, or form, because he's scary.
No, and I'd advise not to, because you can ask Braun Strowman what happens when you make him mad. And Braun Strowman ain't your average human being. He is one tall, as they like to say, SOB.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just tweet or DM Braun Strowman and ask him what happens when you make Jacob Fatu mad.
Yeah.
And then you got the whole Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, and I don't know if you saw the highlights. Drew got put through a car windshield last week by Damian Priest.
I did not. I'll have to go back and watch it, but I did not see
he got real glass in his back that he had to get pulled out. Because Damian Priest slammed him through a car windshield.
Nothing was more gross than seeing
Cody Rhodes.
No, not Dean Ambrose. What the hell is his name? Oh God, he's on AEW. It's not Dean Ambrose. It's who?
John Moxley.
When he faced off against Cope with the nails through. I have never. I could change factions real quick, but I watched Stevie Richards. If you guys don't know who Stevie Richards was, he was an extreme guy, an ECW guy. He has his own podcast. And he said he didn't understand why you would have Cope and Moxley in a match like that when they're your bread and butter all-stars. Those are the people that you put butts in seats. You don't injure those guys. That's not what you do. You do not injure those guys. Again, we've both talked about how crazy we think that Tony Khan is. I mean, if that's even the guy that owns AEW.
It is.
But when you talked about the glass, I thought about Moxley with the nails. But I think the whole Damian Priest, that's Yeah. The Damian
Ugh.
Priest.
If you're squirmy, highly
Ooh,
recommend not listening to this part of the show.
don't. If you are a person that does not like to see blood, I would not suggest watching that match because what they had to do to get it out of his back,
Ugh.
I don't even. I mean,
It
if
just makes both of us squeamish. And I watched the entire match. It was like,
me too.
and what was the point? What's the point of the Death Rider story? Switching to AEW. What's the point of the Death Rider story now?
I know. All I know is he better watch out for. Let's see, who's the guy is it Trick?
No, Swerve.
Swerve. I'm sorry, I got Tricks in NXT. Swerve. They got the.
Swerve,
They got.
did you see last Wednesday? Swerve cooked him on the mic.
Well, yes, he did. He did.
It
It was funny how
was bad.
the Death Riders come out and he goes, "Oh," he goes, "You didn't think I was gonna let you get away with that, did you? You thought that I didn't know what you were gonna do." So I think Moxley's
And then
time
he
is
said, "You need to keep playing John Moxley," and that was a reference to when Ambrose was in WWE, and he had that little run-in with John Cena.
yeah.
And he said that John Cena needs to keep playing John Cena. And what people don't realize is I think all these wrestlers were trying to warn us about John Cena, whether it be Dean Ambrose, whether it be, and we'll get to him in a second, Seth Rollins.
Just say Seth Rollins. Yep.
Whether it be CM Punk, whether it be a guy like Damian Priest.
How about Roman Reigns? You could throw him in that equation. He's had a lot of run-ins with John over the years.
Yeah, Roman Reigns. Brock Lesnar.
Edge or Cope, however you
yes, all these guys tried to warn us about even the late great Wyndham Rotunda, also known as Bray Wyatt.
Mm-hmm.
And that Firefly Funhouse match they had,
Mm-hmm.
he tried to warn us about John Cena. There's many people that probably didn't get those, either the references or the callbacks.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Swerve will beat Moxley. And if it's not Swerve, it's going to be somebody that wins the Owen Hart Foundation tournament, whether it be Jay White, whether it be maybe Adam Cole or Kyle O'Reilly.
Yeah, I think Moxley's days as far as champion are numbered. And why not Swerve? I know Swerve was the champ before Moxley was, so why not? I think Prince Nana, I think, is a good manager. He's got his road back, and the whole thing with his run-in with Ricochet is done and out of the way. So he's fought his way back into the title picture, and he deserves it. So I hope Swerve does. And
I hope Swerve wins too. And I think what people are not realizing is this whole Death Rider story, I think eventually, and I've seen it change in Dax Harwood of FTR. It looks like Dax might be about to turn heel. And do you think Cash is going to go with him, or is he going to side with Cope?
Ooh, that's a tough question, bud.
Because people are putting it out on the internet that they're planting the seeds right now for Cope and Christian Cage to come back to reunite as a tag team, because Christian Cage is currently going through having issues with the patriarchy.
Yeah, I would have to say, he turns on Cope. I think that's what's going to happen. I think he will go heel. So you're gonna team up. I don't know how you're gonna do that, because really, Cage just screwed Cope out of a title shot a couple with that whole.
I think they're gonna do the same thing they would do with like the Shield
Okay.
after the Shield broke up, and then they had their little reunions.
Okay.
Where it's gonna be a slow burn to the lead up, where they finally reunite.
Mm-hmm.
And I at this point I don't mind it, but the Young Bucks are supposed to be coming back soon, and we both know they're going to probably go after those tag team titles.
Absolutely.
But there is one guy still missing that hasn't. He's been MIA, hasn't shown up for work, and yes, we are talking about you, Jack Perry. Where are you at? You've been MIA, haven't shown up for work. Show your face, or else Tony Khan should fire you.
Mm-hmm.
Just like he should let all the people that don't want to be in AEW anymore, he should let them go and go either to WWE or TNA.
Yep. Correct.
That's like Josh Alexander. Josh Alexander was in TNA, and supposedly he signed with AEW. Is he going to get used in AEW? Probably not.
I was going to say probably not.
Because look at their roster. Their roster is overfilled.
Mm-hmm.
You've got... I don't think Samoa Joe likes being there, but I don't think he wants to go into Tony Khan's office and say, look, Tony, release me, because I think Tony Khan knows if he releases Samoa Joe, because Samoa Joe, what was he in WWE? Who did he have the most success under? Triple H.
Uh-huh.
He was a Triple H guy through and through. If he gets released by AEW, who do you think's going to be the first one calling up Samoa Joe? Who's in charge of the chief content officer of WWE?
That would be Triple H.
And like I just said, who had the most success under Triple H in NXT when it was the black and gold brand? Samoa Joe. Yep. And I guarantee you, Samoa Joe would be getting a massive push if he ever came back to WWE. And I think he left WWE on good terms. I don't think it's like Moxley, where Moxley said he'll never go back to WWE. But as we say in the world of sports, never say.
Yeah. Well, CM Punk said the same thing too. So.
And look where Punk is. Oh,
yeah.
And that leads us into Seth Rollins. Go ahead. I see you want to vent.
Seth shows how much of a big baby he is.
And I'm going to say something. We've talked about this off air. Do we think he's in the pocket of The Rock?
That's a possibility, and now that might come true even more now that it's a triple threat at WrestleMania. Now, I want to say this, and I don't people out there, don't take this the wrong way. I'm kind of upset that they're taking a main event match away from Jay and Gunther, because now this is the main event on night one is going to be Punk, Rollins, and Reigns. So they take that match away from Jay, which again, I think Jay will win. That's my prediction. But anyway, Seth is a big baby. He acts like, first of all, the one guy I want to give a lot of credit to in that whole conversation was Roman Reigns. I thought Roman was going to get out of that chair and beat his what. And I'm talking about Seth Rollins.
Oh, I did too. I did too.
I think it took every ounce of being for Roman not to get out of that chair
and just
oh yeah, absolutely manhandle,
stalk him clean in the face.
Somebody has to be a heel, and I think that's going to be Seth, because we know CM Punk and Roman are now currently faces. So someone's got to be a heel. And would it be something Rock to screw Roman and have Rollins be that back pocket tight in your back pocket? No one knows it's coming. Bam, you got him.
Well, and the other thing I've heard is if he's not working with The Rock, he might be working with Paul Heyman behind Roman's back.
Okay.
Because I've been watching videos and somebody came out and said today that there's a little twist that nobody's heard of yet, that Seth is mysteriously behind the scenes working with Heyman, and he's gonna stab Roman in the back and become Seth's new, whatever you want to call it, advocate, wise man.
Became a Paul Heyman guy. Yeah.
There's that, or they're saying that Braun Breaker could be the next Paul Heyman guy, which
that would make more sense to me, bud, than Rollins, but who knows?
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I agree with you. Seth is a big time crybaby. Seth, it's not like you haven't main evented WrestleMania.
Yeah, he's done it a bunch of times.
He has. He even screwed over Roman at one point in the main event.
I was watching a YouTube clip today about the greatest highlights from the last 5 years or 6 years of WrestleMania, and that match with Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns was such a great match. And that snake, had to come down there with his briefcase, Money in the Bank, and screw both of those two, because that was, that was one of the moments in WrestleMania that I wish that didn't happen, but it is what it is.
I wish it didn't happen either, but there's no changing it.
Nope.
But my big question out of all this, I thought the favor from Heyman was getting Punk in the main event of WrestleMania.
I like Paul's, or I mean CM Punk's reaction is, oh, that's not the favor you owe me. So I'm curious to see what that is, what the favor is.
I have and people are throwing this out there, I have a sneaky suspicion that it might be getting added to one of the title matches.
Okay.
Whether it be Jay and Gunther, or the one that would make the most sense is Cody
and John Cena. Yep.
Because he has history with both.
Correct.
And wouldn't it be something that if he screws over Cena and wins the title?
Yep. Well,
but then you got to remember, you still have, if Cody retains, you still have Randy lurking down the line.
Ooh,
even though he went on SmackDown and said that he appreciates everything Cody has done, but he does want number 15 at some point.
That match with Kevin Owens at WrestleMania is going to be a barn burner too.
I'm calling it right now. He's going to punt kick Kevin Owens.
I agree. I think I think it might happen multiple times. I don't think it's going to happen once. I think it's going to happen multiple times.
And Nick Aldis, if you're watching this, make that not unsanctioned, but make that a no DQ match at Mania. Because we don't want Randy getting DQ'd if he does the punt. He needs to get his licks in on Kevin Owens.
Correct.
And Kevin Owens is another crybaby.
He's been a crybaby.
Oh my God. His apology was just, I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't believe a word you're saying, Kevin Owens. Like, at all. And I don't think Randy did either. I'm pretty sure Randy didn't believe it either. So.
Nope.
You can tell by Randy's body language. He's like, just finish what you're saying.
Yep.
And that's another match I want to see is Cena versus Orton one more time with the roles flipped. Orton being the face and Cena being the heel.
Could you possibly see, Bud, before Cena hangs it up, a Cena Joe Hendry match? I know that's one of those events. There's, every time Joe comes out, there's always a sign that says dream match, Joe versus John. And that would be great. I mean, what a time to go out if that's what it is.
Hey, TNA.
Last match or something like that. Yeah.
Who is the head person in TNA?
That would be
Santino.
Santino Marella. Yeah, correct.
Hey, Santino, make that match. Cena, John Cena versus Joe Hendry.
Yeah, that would be. I don't know who would get a louder pop coming out of the I don't know. I don't know. I mean,
Joe Hendry would. People would be singing his song.
Joe's hot right now. I think he's got a title match coming up. He's a fighting champion, as we've
with
seen.
The Nimitz, which,
yeah,
I'm sorry, I have no respect for either of them.
No, I hope the Hardys
should have stayed in WWE.
I hope the Hardys come out and
whoop their what.
Yeah.
Hardys are another team that's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Correct.
At some point.
Yep, I agree.
And we're going to wrap it up here with talking about Gunther, Jey Uso, and Jimmy Uso. We both think Jay's going to win at WrestleMania. Now there's people starting to say that, they think Gunther's going to retain. What was the point? If Gunther retains, what was the point of having Jay win the Rumble?
Win the Rumble, correct. Yep.
If he loses, what was the point of him winning the Rumble when you could have given it to somebody like Cena or Punk or that slimy little crybaby Seth Rollins?
Yeah, because they were those were the final four. So yeah.
Or Roman Reigns before he got double stomped by Seth Rollins. But
yeah, I think Jay wins. Now that what Gunther did to Jimmy, I think Jay now wins even more to protect his brother. So
yes,
that's
and that's not. I think the reason that's not going to main event is because they want to hear the pop when Jay wins, and I think if that main event, everybody's going to be tired by the time that match comes around.
A good point, bud. Good point.
So they might want it to open because then it's a big moment. And everybody's going to be, Pat McAfee's going to be.
Oos. Yeah. Yep. Yeeton. He's going to be yeeton.
Yes, he is.
Yep.
And I say this, when they first hired Pat McAfee, I was like, why? He has no experience other than having a couple wrestling matches. He has no experience as a WWE commentator. He has done a complete 180. He is one of my favorite. Him and Michael Cole. Michael Cole are pure cinema comedy.
Oh, I agree.
If y'all want to see videos, just pull up Michael Cole and Pat McAfee. We'll
go back and look at when McAfee came out of WrestleMania and how excited Michael Cole was to have Pat back.
No, the Rumble.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The Rumble. Correct.
Yeah. And Corey Graves is sitting there like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And he looks over at Michael Cole and says, did you have something to do with this?
I'm sure he
and
did.
Michael Cole says, no, I had nothing to do with this. And another one that's growing on me, because I watched him down in NXT, it's Wade Barrett.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he's a good commentator, too. Is Wade Barrett. Yep.
The one I miss the most on the main roster, not Corey Graves. I miss Booker T on the main roster as a commentator.
Booker does a good job in NXT, though. He's. Do
you think? And this is where I'll wrap it up, because I know you probably got other things to do. But Do you think once Trick gets called up, that they'll bring up Booker T for the sole purpose of having him on commentary for a Trick Williams match? So when Trick's theme song plays, we can hear Booker
I don't
T.
think they're not only going to bring up Trick. I think Obafemi's coming up soon too. You know what? There would be a match there, but how about a match, say, like at SummerSlam,
Obafemi.
I would say Obi against Trick. I would say those two, and you bring
they've had a couple matches on NXT.
To bring both of those guys up.
I'll give you three dream matches for Obafemi on the main roster.
Okay.
1, Jacob Fatu.
That's
Could you imagine the amount of
slow motion car accidents?
Oh no, that's a fast motion car accident.
Yeah.
That's 2 18-wheelers. That's one. And then what about Obafemi versus Braun Breaker?
Yeah, that's oof. You got speed against muscle. Oof. Yeah, I can see both.
Brick wall against the bug.
Yep. Correct.
Sorry, Braun, you'll probably lose. And then the last one. Obafemi against either Pete Dunne or Ilya Dragunov.
Okay.
And then for Trick, I've got 3. 1,
go ahead.
Renew a rivalry with Carmelo Hayes.
Yeah, well, and Hayes is up with. Does he really have a rivalry going right now? Anyway, yeah. Why not?
I mean, he's in a Melodome Miz.
Oh well, that's got to be with. But go ahead.
Why? Just what are you doing? Miz needs to retire.
I agree. I've never been a fan of his. I mean, God love him. I know.
I'm sorry, neither am I. Especially after what he did to Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, I've never. He's cocky. He never shuts up. He's always whining about what he doesn't get. Dude, enough. You're not a main eventer. It should have
been me, as Dolph Ziggler likes to say. It should have been me. It should have been me. Yeah, Miz, it should have been you 15 years ago, and it wasn't.
Yep.
And when you did get a title, all you did is cheat to win. And nobody likes that. That's old.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 1. 2 would be Trick against a guy like Jacob Fatu or Braun Strowman.
Okay.
Could you imagine those matches? Let's take, for example, Trick versus Jacob Fatu.
Ooh. 2 big guys. Again, 2 big guys.
Or
and both of them have speed.
And the third one I'm going to say, both of them have speed, and that's a car wreck.
Yep.
And then the third one, and this guy, we have no idea when he's going to be back. Big Bronson Reed versus Trick Williams.
I forgot about Bronson Reed. Yeah, I forgot about him. But yeah,
because he's been out since War Games.
Bronson Reed, he could with a lot of the big guys in the business. He
moves.
Yes, for his size, for how big of a man he is,
scary.
Yeah, he does move very, very well.
Just ask Seth Rollins what happens when you make Bronson Reed mad. 6 tsunamis and a broken rib.
Correct.
But, ladies and gentlemen, we will see everybody Thursday night. That's going to wrap up tonight's episode of the Sports Nation Podcast. Leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. As I do, and my co-host, we both read comments on this video, on the podcast. And again, if you can't find the podcast on here, we are part of the NGSC Sports Network, so you can find it on their website. And my co-host would be glad to tell you how.
Yeah, just head over to ngscsports.com. Scroll down to the bottom of the page. All of our podcasts are on that end of the bottom of the web page. I write articles, guys, so you'll see articles written by me. Take a look at them. I think the latest one is about USF athletics. But other than that, yeah, we'll be back here, guys, on Thursday. Looking forward to it.
Yep. For Alec and Bradley, we are signing off.
Good night, everybody.